we knew that Brett was going to have that sort of match with the whoever was champion. It was going to be Lex Luger or Yokozuna. And of course, if the game, if they know going in that Brett's going to be walking out champion, why not have somebody to rival Brett straight after WrestleMania than his brother Owen, by having Owen go over on Brett? And I think, I know to a lot of fans that might seem a bit silly, but it kind of makes some sense, Matt, to have done that the way they did it, because then they had some classic bouts, and it went all the way to SummerSlam, you'll remember, in a cage match and all the rest of it. So, I mean, that's probably the reason they did it, I'm guessing, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk a lot about in wrestling, like the phrase that we use, the rub, like, as in when a talent beats another talent, but they get something out of it, which is what Owen did. He essentially, on that night, pinned the WWF champion, or who was going to be, and that was kind of a big achievement. And like you said, when you know Bret Hart's going to come out anyway, he's going to get a good push from actually gaining that title and going further up to the main event kind of status. It's like what we saw a few years ago with Seth Rollins, wasn't it? He came out, fought Randy Orton, had an incredible match, and then Randy Orton did that amazing RKO out of nowhere. And then later on that night, we see Seth Rollins go on to become heavyweight champion. They both get a little bit of elevation from that kind of win. Yeah,
absolutely, and I mean, straight after that, he got bragging rights, and he was the best Hart. He beat him, and that went on for a while. So they had a great program just from that, and it lasted a hell of a long time. So that's the reason they've done that. And your other point about WrestleMania 11, Matt, I suppose you remember Diesel and HBK's match, where HBK was winning as the heel, and the WWF had put a massive marketing machine behind Diesel, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, and he was the new guy on the block. He was kind of like Vince's new image, I'm guessing, at the time. I mean, why were WWE so behind Diesel at that time, do you think, Matt, to put him over HBK?
I don't know. It's like when I think back at Diesel, all the thoughts that come into my mind are like prototype Roman Reigns. They both had that similar kind of start, and they both had that dominance and that kind of Royal Rumble kind of feel when they got in there. But I think it was just one of those instances of like when was the right time to pull the trigger. And with Diesel, they kind of got that right, and they kind of did jump on him at the right time. But I think it was so complicated because it just, when you got a character like that that's not actually so technically gifted as the person you're going to fight, like Shawn Michaels, it's always going to be a bit of a mishmash in the chemistry department. I think if they had to go down that route, it was a difficult match to pull off in the least anyway.
Yeah, the thing is as well with that match, Leah, is that you've got to remember at the time the Clique was very much in control, and I think if anything, HBK himself would have pushed for Diesel to go over because it gave him like another guy in the main event, and I think they were definitely going to be eyeing Razor Ramon as the next guy that gets the push and the rub, and so he could have, the more guys he's got as his friends as the main eventers at the time, the better for Shawn Michaels, I think. So there was a lot of politics going on in that sort of time for sure. Leah ends on this. On a side note, I got to Mania 8 and was the last time I heard Vince McMahon's intro. Could you please play it on your show, please? Always makes me laugh. WrestleMania time, guys. Time to party. Keep up the good show. So she's in a good mood for WrestleMania. And yes, just for you and for everyone else that's enjoyed these wonderful WrestleMania intros from Vince McMahon, it is the last one of the line of the old WrestleManias. But here's WrestleMania 8, Matt. This will probably bring you back some memories of the over-the-top, exaggerated voice of Vince McMahon.
The title against the #1 contender, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. The maniacal Sid Justice goes one-on-one with the immortal Hulk Hogan in what could prove to be Hulk Hogan's farewell match. WrestleMania!
There you go, folks. You can't beat that. He must have, that guy. I mean, his voice the next day must have been incredibly damaged. He must have had a few sore throats in his time. I'll tell you that, Vince McMahon, sitting there doing that.
This year. It would be amazing, wouldn't it, to see Roman Reigns versus the Dead Man, the Undertaker. I want to hear that.
Yeah, I think just like Hulk Hogan used to get the good treatment with the voice, that would be Roman Reigns for sure this year. That would be him. It would just be like the Undertaker versus Roman Reigns. You know, he would be. Or perhaps his son Shane would get that. Who knows where he'd be with that? Maybe he'd have to even do his son-in-law Triple H, and it would be a battle who gets the best of Vince's voice there. So. Yeah, we always find those funny. Thank you for your question there, Leah, and sending that in. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your WrestleManias. How many more you're going to get in before this year's WrestleMania? And don't forget to listen to our 97 20 back that we'll be putting out on WrestleMania week as well. Okay, Rebecca C now. Got a few females emailing in tonight. She's from Southampton as well. Thank you for first time emailer. Hi Matt, hi John. Just wanted to write in and say thank you for all the podcasts you've given us. I enjoyed the interview you did with Rhea O'Reilly. She is my bestie. Do you have plans to ever do a Mania party at all and a live show at the same time? Well, I mean, that'd be a huge step up, Rebecca. I've got to be honest with you. It's not something I've really considered or thought about. However, we have been close on one occasion to, and it wasn't a WrestleMania party. It was another kind of wrestling event that we were going to be involved with live on the night, and we were actually going to do a couple of interviews live there. So other than that, we've not really come across the situation of putting on a WrestleMania party just yet, have we, Matt?
Well,
I don't think we're quite ready for.
Kind of vibe.
Yeah, but when we do, trust me, everyone will know about it, including yourself. But you know, I'll never rule it out. You never know, and I certainly wouldn't rule out us showing up at another kind of wrestling party that goes on over that period. So yeah, keep an eye on. Thank you for your support there, Rebecca. Next question's from Renee. In my view, not having Big Shaq, which of course is Shaquille O'Neal, in case anybody's wondering, was a blessing. I heard the reason the deal didn't get done is because Big Shaq thought he was going to be paid like $500,000 for a match at Mania with no appearances on Raw to promote it. In my view, that match would have only been a mid-card match, so WWE would not pay him that high money. I agree about the Battle Royal being a waste of time for Big Show and Braun, especially, and I think they should have just had Braun versus Show as a feature match. That would have been better. Also, do you know if there's any truth to Dean Ambrose turning heel post-Mania? Can't say I've heard that last one there, Renee, about Dean Ambrose turning heel. But, you know, if that's something you've heard yourself, you know, let us know where you got that from. But unless you have, Matt, am I on my own here with this one?
No, I mean, I hadn't heard much about that. My assumption would have been, you know, win or lose, this Baron Corbin thing would have had to run a little bit longer. So Corbin's quite a natural heel, so I guess that would have gone on a little bit longer. Yeah,
as for the point about Shaquille O'Neal not showing up, Matt, I'm sure you're not too sad about that, are you? It's not exactly the biggest disaster I don't think we've ever seen from a non-celebrity input. But, you know, I think...
I'm very much relieved.
Yeah. To be honest, it's not like I get if it's a combat fighter like Floyd Mayweather or a UFC fighter, something like that. But, you know, Shaquille O'Neal, I know he's a big name. I know he's had lots going on, but, you know... is it really going to be... It'll look good on paper, but the match itself, man, would probably be quite terrible in a lot of ways. I mean, what could they do? That would have to be a quicker match than Goldberg and Brock, in my opinion, right there. And, you know, I think last year with that Battle Royal, it wasn't like everybody was going too crazy about the fact that Shaquille O'Neal showed up. They really didn't even promote the thing, to be honest. I don't know if you remember that if they promoted that last year, but I don't recall them promoting that Shaquille O'Neal was going to be in that Battle Royal. If that's just me. So.
No, and in fact, when you think of last year's Battle Royal, all you really think of is Baron Corbin winning it anyway. So
yeah.
I don't like Shaq doesn't even enter my mind in that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not like a huge loss. And it's a good point. I mean, WWE are not going to pay an exorbitant amount of money for what would just be a mid-card match. Quite honestly, I mean, with everything else around it, it's not a match. I mean, now if this was, say, last year, I could see WWE kind of saying to themselves, okay, we better get something sorted because they had so many injuries last year. But this year, I kind of feel like, if anything, they've just matched up the wrong people. But there are enough star power on the card not to need that kind of big celebrity coming in. So, it's probably a blessing in disguise. The only thing I hope for about the whole situation is that I just hope it's not, in a way, I hope it's not Big Show's last WrestleMania appearance. And I hope they really do him something on his way out than just this. Let's put it that way. Because I definitely don't see him winning it again. That's for sure. But thank you for your question there, Renee. Next question is from Stephen. He's not happy. I'm not up for Mania this year. I will still watch it, but it's dreadful. I hope with low expectations it will shock me. I know you said last week Owens versus Jericho and Neville versus Austin Aries were going to be show stealers. I'm holding out on that Roman versus Taker may bring a big surprise to us. Your thoughts? I mean, listen, Roman versus Taker, I don't like. I'll be honest with you, that build to it was very unoriginal. I don't know what you thought about that, Matt, but that whole staring up at the WrestleMania thing. I mean, how many times have they recreated that moment since I've seen Triple H do it years and years ago? Like, this is getting, that is such a kind of silly way. Like, all of a sudden Taker looks up at the sign, Roman looks up at it. Yep, that's it. That's the match made. No worries now. It just seems such a silly way to go with that. What was your thinking when you saw them both together? I know we touched on it last week, but do you feel any different about that match, Matt? Is there potential for it to be a match that we don't see coming?
Well, yeah, there is potential. I mean, any match that involves The Undertaker would be silly to be dismissed as a poor quality match because the guy knows what he's doing between those ropes. And as much as people criticise Roman's kind of technique, he has had good matches, and some wrestlers do bring out the worst in him. Just unfortunately, quite a lot of them bring out the worst in him. But I think we've got hope on this one that they will be a good combination together, and that there will be some unexpected surprises, and that Roman won't just be the same old Roman we've seen now for a very long time. A subtle change here and there would definitely do his character a lot good.
Amen to that, and totally agree. I mean, potentially, if it went all right, I mean, this could be one of the biggest things of the night. Would be my opinion, but we say that every year. So we say that every event he's on, even. So listen, we'll have to wait and see. But potentially it could work, but we have to wait and see. Okay, another regular emailer in here, DX1. What do you think of Styles versus Shane at Mania? This is what I think. 2 words. He says, horseshit. This is a disaster of epic proportions. Do you feel like AJ is coming off as a bit of a rebel like Steve Austin and CM Punk did? As I think fans may actually choose AJ on this one. Your thoughts? I mean, that's actually a very good comparison there, DX1. I think that's an excellent comparison about the whole rebel thing and Steve Austin and CM Punk especially, because I've got to be honest with you, Matt. I think you said it as well. I was agreeing